Take a breath. Smart. My dad gave me $1 bill because I'm his smartest son. And I swapped it for 2 shiny quarters because 2 is more than 1. And then I took the quarters and traded them to Lou for 3 dimes. I guess he don't know that 3 is more than 2. Just then along came old blind Bates, and just because he can't see, he gave me 4 nickels for my 3 dimes, and 4 is more than 3. And I took the nickels to Hiram Coons down at the seed feed store, and the fool gave me 5 pennies for them, and 5 is more than 4. And then I went and showed my dad, and he got red in the cheeks, and he closed his eyes and he shook his head, too proud of me to speak. At some point in life, all of us have felt that exasperation with ourselves, just as the father felt with his son in Shel Silverstein's much-loved poem. Prosperity, abundance. Here we are at week 37 of our review of Unity Basics with Mary Alice and Richard Jafala in their Quest series. Why do we go back to look at basics? Well, the authors remind us that it's a process of remembering the truth that have been hidden in the ancient forests of our minds, and that it's an opportunity for us to step out and actively be engaged in the evolution of our spirit as it spirals higher and higher as we remember our spiritual self. We know that all the elements of our lives rest on this spiritual foundation. As we examine, remember, reclaim, we come more into our essential self, and that self with an uppercase S. As we become consciously aware of this flow of substance in and through our life, that Christ consciousness unfolds. And we recognize it in a very broad sense as prosperity being our spiritual well-being then. The Jafalas suggest this week that we first redefine prosperity, that we second take a look at our own feelings about our worthiness. Third, ask ourselves, are we living from a point of gratitude and appreciation? And then last, consciously make a commitment to be in the flow of all God's aspects of good. So first, redefine. What is it we're looking for? What is it that we want when we say we want to live a prosperous and abundant life? The word prosperity comes from the Latin root that translates according to hope, or to go forward hopefully. The dictionary tells us that prosperous means successful, of course, favorable, wealthy, but it also means feeling successful about ourselves. It means feelings favorable about our life, our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial life, all phases of our being. Unity minister and longtime prosperity teacher Catherine Ponder wrote, "We are prosperous to the degree that we are experiencing peace, health, and plenty in our world. Prosperity includes peace of mind. Prosperity includes harmony. Prosperity includes health, and it includes financial plenty." Revealing word, our dictionary of terms goes on though. Prosperity is based on the conscious possession of ideas of God's abundance back of all things. Peace of mind, harmony, health, wholeness, plenty, our spiritual well-being. Poet John Paul Moore shares these couplets. I'm drinking from my saucer. I've never made a fortune, and it's probably too late now, but I don't worry about that much. I'm happy anyhow. And as I go along life's way, I'm reaping what I sow. I'm drinking from my saucer. My cup has overflowed. I thank God for many blessings and the mercy God bestowed. I'm drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. If God gives me strength and courage when the way grows steep and rough, I'll not ask for other blessings. I'm already blessed enough. May I never be too busy to help others bear the load. Then I'll keep drinking from my saucer because my cup has overflowed. The Japhas ask, okay, how do I feel about myself? Many of us have grown up with the belief that we were victims of the universe, that maybe there just wasn't quite enough to go around. That's old BS, old belief systems for those of you with raised eyebrows, and that dates back to a much earlier time. It's a belief system that's passed from generation to generation, and it's entered our collective consciousness. It's simply not true. We live in an abundant universe. It's full of possibilities. And we many times are kept from enjoying the fullness of life because of the stagnant BS or belief systems. Now, I'm not saying that tough times don't come up, because some of us feel like we're living in a tough time right now. But we can change to no longer living life from a place of limitation and lack. And we can choose. And that's a powerful idea. I am choosing. We can and we do choose our attitude. We're children of God, and it's God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. It's God's good pleasure to supply us with whatever we need. So, what is it that keeps us from living this truth? It's my belief, and the belief and opinion of many teachers much wiser than I am, that we keep ourselves from living a prosperous life. How do we do that? Why do we do that? Well, a sense of lack or poor prosperity consciousness might have been something that was demonstrated to us by the dear ones that raised us. And some of it, us worked on this, we massaged it, we applied it, we picked it up, we tried it again, and we truly made it our own belief. So our whole life, we've been affirming what we've been taught. And because the universe loves us, the universe responds to this kind of thought. Remember, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Whatever we think about, whatever we affirm, becomes our reality. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said it this way: people are not prisoners of fate, only prisoners of their own minds. There's a classic story that I know all of us have heard in one form or another, and it speaks to the role that attitude has in overcoming whatever type of life we're creating. It goes something like this. Worried that their son was too optimistic, the parents of the little boy took him to a psychiatrist. And in an attempt to dampen that boy's enthusiasm a bit, the psychiatrist showed him to a room that was piled high with nothing but horse manure. Sound familiar? Instead of displaying distaste, that little boy clambered to the top of the pile and began digging. "What are you doing?" shouted the psychiatrist. "Well, with all this manure," the little boy replied, beaming, "there must be a pony in here someplace." What do we do? What do we look for when life shows up as a pile of horse manure? Do we dwell on the wrongs in life? Or do we, like this optimistic little guy, look everywhere, even in the most unexpected places, for the good, for the possibilities? Look with eyes of wonder for abundance. Poverty, lack, they're conditions that we accept by our mental attitudes. We all know folks that don't have a lot in the way of finances, and yet they live an abundant life. We're talking about how we live with what we have and how we go on accepting all that wonder and abundance that comes to us and recognizing it as it appears. We recognize the sacred moments as they occur. And the good news is that as we begin living this abundant life, the universe pours out more to us. We cannot help but attract like things to us because the universal deck is stacked in our favor. And whatever we give out is returned to us in like kind. What we focus on is multiplied beyond our ability to dream or imagine it. There's a wise old saying that goes, it's not falling in the water that drowns us, but staying there. Well, we cannot live an abundant life and have that sense of spiritual well-being when we are content to live in lack and negativity and misery in an experience. A changed attitude, though, doesn't come overnight. It's a process that requires subtle shifts and conscious changes, one belief after another. And some of those beliefs are lifelong held beliefs. We take a look at a belief. We ask, does it serve us? Does it get us where we want to go? If it does, that's fine. If it doesn't, then we firmly and lovingly replace it with something that helps us create that loving, abundant, wonder-filled attitude. With time and wisdom comes the knowledge that pain sometimes does accompany growth. And so we accept the discomfort more gracefully when we are reminded that we're simply turning a page in our story of life. And we're preparing for this next new chapter. All real and lasting change, whether it's in our attitudes, our thoughts, our belief systems, our relationships, or finances, requires dedication to the work involved in making this dream a reality. A change of attitude about ourselves takes practice, and it creates abundance at all levels of living. Eric Butterworth in Spiritual Economics suggests we want to develop a new self-identification. The word there that interests me is develop. It doesn't mean add to. It's related to the word envelope, which means to enclose. Enclosed within us already is all the wisdom, guidance, and goodness and abundance that the Creator endowed us with at the beginning of time. The most effective tools for attaining this prosperous life, for stepping up in conscious, for remembering who we are, prayer and meditation. Spending time in the silence, taking a walk in nature, playing a game of golf with that attitude, listening to birdsong, music. Those are the most powerful tools. Our author's third query: where are we with our attitude of gratitude? The Apostle Paul was in a dark, dank, rat-filled cell when he wrote, "I have learned in this one thing, that in whatever circumstances I am in, therein to be grateful." Now, he didn't say to be grateful about the bad circumstances. Rather, simply in this place, in this space, be grateful. Find the strength then to transcend a temporary emotion or misfortune and learn to live from that grateful heart. Thornton Wilder wrote, "We can only be said to be alive in those moments when our hearts are conscious of our treasures." If we truly want to embrace life and all that it has to bring to us, and if we truly desire prosperity in all aspects of living, then blessing the rainbow and not cursing the rain is what we're called on to do. There's good in everything. We want to be willing to live from this attitude of gratitude if we're going to find that good. Oprah Winfrey once said that she has sunshine faith. Isn't that an interesting term? Sunshine faith. This is how she explains it. Sunshine faith is knowing that you will make it through. It's believing in abundance and your own worthiness. It's understanding that miracles can open up in life in ways you've never imagined. She goes on, it's surrendering your dream to a power greater than yourself, because you know that the universe can dream a bigger dream than you ever could have dreamed for yourself. And finally, the Japhalas suggest that we commit consciously to being in the flow. In Luke 6, we read, "Give, and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be poured into your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back." We're asked this week, so is it possible we've had some of this wrong all along? We remind ourselves, God is source. God is unlimited. And God is creative process. We unfold into a greater realization of our Christ self, of our Christ consciousness, of our spiritual identity. As we give from this essential self, as we extend from our spiritual well-being, we ourselves thrive and grow. The Japhalas write, the law of prosperity is actually 180 degrees from what many of us have believed. We prosper not by concentrating on what we are getting, but by emphasizing what we are giving. There's simply no way to circumvent this law, and it might take a quantum leap in our thinking to bring us around to this truth. We all have gifts and talents that are unique to us, and we have them in great quantities. We have the resources, emotional, mental resources, spiritual, and financial resources. If we choose, we can guard them. We can put them around, our arm around it, hold them close to us. But we want to commit to being in God's flow. So we have a choice. What does that look like in life? The Dead Sea versus the Sea of Galilee. As you know, these two bodies of water are in Israel. The Sea of Galilee is 13 miles long. It's filled with fish. It's surrounded by lush foliage. And it's Israel's largest freshwater lake. It's absolutely picturesque. The other body of water, the Dead Sea, though, is 50 miles long. It's barren. It's lifeless. But both are fed by the River Jordan. What's the difference? Well, the Sea of Galilee takes water from the Jordan, but then gives it back. It circulates it. And as a result, the Sea of Galilee is full of life and beauty. But the Dead Sea, on the other hand, just accepts the flow of water and it evaporates. It isn't circulated. What results is nothing that can sustain life. What a metaphor for our living. Like the Dead Sea, if we have input but nothing to share, no output, we become stagnant, bitter, maybe even unhealthy. But if we're like the Sea of Galilee, if we give and receive, it's in the receiving and in the giving that life and hope and growth are sustained. Whoa. I don't know about you, but that's a lot to think about this week. And so for the next 7 days, take a look, a little piece at a time, a little sliver at a time. Take a deeper look at some of these tools that the Japhalas shared. 1, redefining what does a prosperous, lasting life like this look like for you? 2nd, let's declare ourselves worthy, heirs to this great kingdom. 3rd, look for the pony even when life gets a little stinky. 4th, pray, meditate. 5, give thanks in all circumstances and remember to drink from the saucer when the cup overflows. And commit to being in the flow, accepting, giving, and receiving, because both are absolutely essential for this abundant life. Next week, we have our scheduled guest speaker, Reverend Beth Heitzman. You all remember Beth from when she was here sharing with us on Zoom before. Now we come to a time where we get to put ourselves into action. And this is the great round, isn't it? This infilling and this outfilling. So we're invited to use our chat box. We're invited to use the donate button on the church website. Or we love getting mail and we have a secure drop box when it comes. It's carefully placed away. Unity Church, 417 Cordelia, Springfield, Illinois, 62703. Let's, in our mind's eye then, take our gift and let's bless it. Recognizing that as we are blessed, we bless. And as we open our hearts, all that is good, all that is God flows forth. And this blessing goes out to do God's work in God's way with God's timing. Truly a blessing for all. Amen. We have special thanks today. And what you don't see, but I see in my mind's eye, are all your faces and names on this special thanks board. And that's because we have such a wonderful community. When someone notices something could be done, they rush to fill that job. If someone for some reason isn't able to fill their task, someone else steps forward. And so we have dear ones that make and deliver and serve food. We have wonderful congregants that keep us informed, that keep us connected with cards, with emails, with phone calls. Even the dance troupe that goes over to Cedarhurst and dances for Pat Meter and all her friends. If someone isn't available, someone steps in and Oftentimes, it's not with a lot of warning that this gets done, but with a full heart. Most importantly of all, though, are all the prayers that shine forth from each individual. We know that we keep the high watch for each other at this time, and boy, don't we need it right now. For these and for many other services, we honor you and we say thank you. Will you join me as we draw our service to a close by praying our prayer for protection? Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen.